Why do you want to sit like this? Why is this your preferred way of sitting, ma'am? Good morning, Reptilians. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. Asked on Instagram what animal you guys wanted to see more of, and overwhelmingly the answer was bearded dragons and ball pythons. Since bearded dragon was in first place, we're doing a bearded dragon video today. Big bearded dragon care guides can get very overwhelming very quickly, so I decided to break it down into parts, and this one is only for baby bearded dragons. This is obviously not a baby. This is a full-grown adult female, but we're going to talk about babies. As always, please don't let me be your only source of information for care for your animals. Please make sure to do other research for other YouTubers or reading articles or reading books or something so that you can provide the best possible home for your bearded dragon and you can do what care things work best for you. This video is sponsored by me, so make sure to stay until the end of the video to find out about our Etsy shop and the things that we sell in there. Let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is their setup. For a baby bearded dragon, the minimum size that you should keep them in is about a 20-gallon. Now, some care guides say that a 10-gallon is good for a baby. Baby bearded dragons grow very, very fast, and I personally would not waste money on a 10-gallon because in a month or so, you're going to need to upgrade that to at least a 20-gallon. I get a question a lot about, can you put them in a bigger tank? Yes, bearded dragons are usually really good being put in their ultimate home as babies. They usually don't have problems finding their food. They don't really get shy like other reptiles can in bigger enclosures. So if you have a 40 or 50, 75-gallon tank and you want to go ahead and put your baby bearded dragon in that, usually you can if they have any kind of stress indicators after the first week of bringing them home. Then I would consider just putting some kind of barrier up just to block off the other half of the tank. If at all possible, bearded dragons prefer front opening tanks. This is because in the wild, the predators of bearded dragons would swoop down like large birds and grab them, and that is what they have this little third eye here for, to see when shadows happen overhead. And if you notice when you reach in for your bearded dragon, a lot of times they'll immediately kind of look up at you to see what's happening. It stresses them out if you're reaching in from above. So if you possibly can, I know that they are a lot more expensive, getting a front opening tank for your bearded dragon might relieve some of their stress of being handled. Lights. Lights are very, very important for a bearded dragon. I have a whole video about lights that I will leave here, and it goes over the different kinds of lights, coil lights, tube lights, mercury bulbs. It goes over all that really quickly. For bearded dragons need a heat source and a source of UVA and UVB, a full spectrum sun source, basically. Both of these lights are very important in their digestive system. They have to have heat in order to properly get their body temperatures up to where it needs to be in order to properly digest their food, and they have to have UVB in order to get vitamin D, which helps them absorb calcium so they don't become calcium deficient and they can properly digest their food and they don't get metabolic bone disease. It's a very quick run through, but both of those kinds of lights are needed. With bearded dragons, it is best to give them a tube light, a full tube light for UVB, especially when they are in large tanks, because bearded dragons are a daytime animal. In the wild, they would be sitting out in full sun. So they need a very powerful UVB light. I recommend ReptiSun or Arcadia. Those are the two brands that are tested over and over and over again, and the UVB output from both of those comes out on top every single time. A linear Arcadia or ReptiSun UVB light is highly recommended. That takes up at least 3/4, preferably the entirety of the top of the tank. Make sure that you are looking at the little pamphlet that comes with your UVB light, or you're looking it up online to see what that distance needs to be between the UVB light and the basking spot. If we start looking at super powerful tube lighting, sometimes if your basking spot's too high, it could actually cause harm to your bearded dragon by giving them too much UVB light. And as for heat, I highly recommend you have a heat bulb in a dome with a dimmer switch. In a 20-gallon long, you're only going to need about a 100-watt bulb, 75 to 100 depending on the time of year. If you put it on a dimmable switch, you can turn that heat bulb up in the wintertime and down in the summertime because the temperatures in your house are going to change most likely. And in order to keep their temperature where it needs to be, it's so much easier to just get a dimmable switch. A baby bearded dragon's hotspot needs to stay between about 95 and 110 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Measuring this hot spot under the heat bulb needs to be done with a temperature gun. Having a stick-on thermometer on the side of the tank over that basking spot is not going to be sufficient. That stick-on thermometer, even if it's right above that basking spot, could show 20 degrees less than the actual basking surface, and we need that actual basking surface to be between 95 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And for substrate for bearded dragons has always been very highly debated. Number one, I'm gonna say it in every single video, don't use calci sand. Calci sand is bad for reptiles. Please don't use calci sand. But you do have a lot of different options for substrate. The most popular one, even though I personally don't recommend it, is reptile carpet. Reptile carpet, you can find it anywhere. It is pretty affordable, but I don't recommend reptile carpet because, frankly, when they poop, it's gross and it gets down in the fibers and it harbors parasites. These guys are prone to getting parasites. Also, them running through that is going to increase the chances that they are carrying salmonella on their bellies. In addition to all that, their nails will get caught in carpet and it could snag their nails. They could lose a nail. We don't want those things to happen because that causes infection. I've also used artificial turf in tanks. Those are easier to clean. You just spray it out because it's made for outdoors, but I still recommend against it because it could still harbor parasites. Tile, I like to use tile. That is what I've been using for a very long time. It is very easy to clean. It does not harbor parasites and it provides a nice solid surface. Make sure it is textured tile so that they are not sliding around everywhere because sliding around on tile is going to be bad for them. I have had comments saying that there is newer research about joint health concerns with tile and bearded dragons. So make sure you look into that before you decide to do tile. I have been looking into that a lot and it has made me kind of consider going bioactive. But from the last thing that I personally read, baby bearded dragons don't do the best in bioactive tanks for a number of reasons, like not being able to find their food and not doing so well ingesting the substrate, things like that. But please correct me if I'm wrong there. Please leave an article. If you have another article that says that baby bearded dragons are good for tanks, please leave that down below. Other than the tile, you can also do shelf liners. Non-adhesive shelf liners look really nice. They are also super easy to clean. They're one big piece, so if they go to the bathroom in there, you just wipe it out and you're good to go. Or you could go super easy and go paper towels. Paper towels are going to be really easy for babies because you're just going to pull it out, toss it, put new paper towels in. Other than not doing the calcium sand, I also highly advise against walnut shells. That is not a very good substrate for them because they can ingest those and it hurts their stomachs. So highly advise against calcium sand, highly advise against walnut shells. In that tank, you also want to keep a thermometer / hygrometer so you can get the air temperature of the tank. Bearded dragons need an ambient temperature in the high 70s, low 80s, and the humidity of that tank. Bearded dragons need a very low humidity. We want to keep that humidity below 40%, preferably in the 30s. Too high of humidity for too long can cause them to get respiratory infections. I did another video. I don't think all these that I'm linking are going to fit, but I did another one here. Maybe it might be there, or I'll just leave a bunch of videos down in the description. I did another video on how to lower the humidity in your bearded dragon's tank, and there's a lot of suggestions in there about how to do that if you need to. Their humidity can spike into the 50 percentile at nighttime. That is perfectly normal. It is perfectly okay to have nighttime humidity spikes. Overall, you want to keep their humidity pretty low. Also, in that tank, you want enrichment. Reptiles need enrichment to be healthy and happy and to have a good life. Enrichment, I've done a video on that, I'll leave that here. Enrichment is basically just things for your reptile to do. Don't just throw them in an empty tank. Give them a place to hide. Give them branches to climb. Baby bearded dragons love to climb. I would put some sort of fake leaves or plants in there that they can move around or ruffle around. This is imperative for the overall health and well-being of your bearded dragon. On to feeding. This is a question I get a lot. Baby bearded dragons need 80% of their diet to be bugs, and the other 20% to be mostly veggies with a few fruits thrown in there. Baby bearded dragons a lot of times aren't going to eat those salads, but it is very important that you put a small salad in their tank every single day anyway, because eventually they will start eating it more and more. As they become an adult, they're going to transition their diet over to be a lot more salad, a lot less bugs. First thing in the morning, you're going to put a salad in your bearded dragon's tank. Before you feed them bugs, you are going to put a salad in there and you're going to let that stay in there for a few hours. If you first thing in the morning give your bearded dragon bugs, they're not gonna wanna eat that salad. They're not even gonna want to touch that salad. In those salads, you're going to offer leafy greens, collard greens, mustard green, turnips greens. Their favorite greens are usually dandelion greens, if you can find them, shredded butternut squash, or cut up strawberries, diced up blueberries, things that are in small bite-sized pieces, but that are very high in nutrition. For the bugs, baby bearded dragons can eat a lot of bugs. You're going to feed these guys 2 to 3 times a day for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. I highly recommend putting them in a separate enclosure to feed them because they are going to be consuming like crazy and those bugs can escape into the tank. And if they escape into the tank, then it can cause stress for your bearded dragon later. You want to make sure that those bugs are no bigger than the space between their eyes. With dubia roaches, they can be a little bit bigger than that. It is very important that these bugs are gut loaded. Another video here all about gut loading. Gut loading your bugs is basically just feeding them and giving them water before they are fed, at least 24 hours before they are fed, giving them greens and water or bug chow, anything that you want to feed those bugs to make sure that they are healthy and ready to go when it's time for your bearded dragon to eat. Zaz here would eat easily 80 to 100 crickets a day when she was a baby. If your bearded dragon is only eating 20 to 30 bugs a day, they might be perfectly okay. This is going to vary greatly between bearded dragon and very greatly between what it is that you are feeding. Your options for bugs here are a lot. You can do crickets, dubia roaches. Dubia roaches are my favorite to feed. Occasionally wax worms as treats. Black soldier fly larvae are fantastic for them. They are very high in calcium, and I will leave a link here if I'm not out of links by this point on basically bugs that you can feed bearded dragons. But you have a lot of options here, and they're going to eat vastly different numbers of bugs depending on what it is that you are feeding them. And in this feeding section, we also are going to look at water. Water is a highly debated subject with bearded dragons, which is weird. Just know going into this, most bearded dragons are not going to drink water out of a standing water dish. They can't see it. And water in bearded dragon setups raise humidity, and like we talked about earlier, we need the humidity to be low. If a water dish in your tank is raising your humidity, make sure you have the hygrometer, and if your bearded dragon isn't drinking it, take it out. If you have it in there, don't put it under the heat bulb. Don't have a huge water bowl. Make sure it's a small one away from the heat bulb so it doesn't raise your humidity. If your bearded dragon uses it, awesome. If it's not raising your humidity, fantastic, you can use it. Otherwise, you don't need one. These guys are going to get most of their water from the greens that they eat, the bugs that they eat. This is why it's very important that we gut load to make sure that they do have the appropriate amounts of water, and giving your bearded dragon baths also is a way to get them water. Baby bearded dragons generally are not going to be very okay with baths, but you can put them into a sink or a container of water, only up to about their legs here. We don't want to submerge them, and with that water moving it, sometimes they will drink water out of that, and it'll help them shed too if they're having any issues there. Or taking a dropper or a spray bottle or something and lightly dropping water right here on the tips of their nose. That also a lot of times will get them to drink water. Find out what works best for you and your tank and your bearded dragon, and just give them water whichever way is best. Supplementation. Other than gut loading those insects, you also want to make sure that you are giving your baby bearded dragon supplements. These are calcium supplements and vitamin supplements. You're going to dust your insects every single time that you feed a bearded dragon with one of these supplements. About 2 days a week, you're going to use a vitamin supplement. All the other days, you're using calcium. You are going to dust that food at every single feeding. I always use this one for my vitamin supplement, and I always use calcium with D3 for the calcium supplement. I've had her for five years now, I think, and in 5 years, some things have changed. So whereas then they said to always use calcium with D3, now they're suggesting that you use calcium with D3 about 3 times a week, 3 feedings a week, and the rest of those calcium feedings you're using calcium without D3 in order to prevent them from getting too much D3 in their diet. Yes, that means you have to buy one more supplement, but it is for the health and safety of your bearded dragon. Now let's talk about shedding. Bearded dragons aren't going to shed in the typical way that you always see in movies or the way that snakes shed. They're going to shed in patches. Baby bearded dragons are going to shed a lot as well. So they grow very, very fast. So they're going to have a super lot of sheds. When your bearded dragon is about to shed, you're basically going to know graying or whitening patches around their body. It may be a whole leg, it may be a spot on their back, it may be their whole back. When you see these patches, do not pull it. You can give them a bath, you can use a shed helper if you want. If you pull a bearded dragon or any reptile shed before it is ready, you actually risk pulling off the scale underneath. The only time that I think that it is okay is if it gets stuck around their eyes and they can't see and it's been there for a little bit. You can gently pull, gently remove it then, or if it gets stuck inside of these nostrils here. Other than that, do not pull on their shed. And as for hygiene, cleaning, clean up waste as soon as it happens. If you're not cleaning up waste when it happens, your bearded dragon is going to run through it. They're going to become a mess, and then that creates a breeding ground for bacteria, for parasites, and it can increase the chances of them carrying salmonella on their bellies. Plus, your bearded dragon doesn't want to sit in a tank with their poop all day, so please clean up their waste as soon as it happens. Once a month, you want to completely break down and disinfect their tank. You're going to use some sort of cleaner. The big one that people use a lot is called F20, I don't know, it's this one. I like to use these ones from beardeddragon.co. I also have used the Flukers brand in the past. Some people will use diluted bleach. That one makes me really uncomfortable, but some people use that one. But you want to follow the instructions on the cleaner and just clean their tank once a month. As far as hygiene for these guys, other than baths, you also can clip their nails. Zazza stays pretty short. I did have to recently clip them when she got out of brumation. Kyle does help file down their nails. Get back up. Hello. Hello. In order to clip them, you're basically going to find the little tip part, a lot like you would do on a dog, and you're just going to clip those off with fingernail clippers. Again, only if they need it, only if they are overgrowing. Sometimes bearded dragon's nails will overgrow to the point of curling, just like a dog's, so you can do that if necessary. Common problems with bearded dragons, another video I will leave here in the description. Bearded dragons do have health problems sometimes, and these commonly include parasites. Again, very prone to parasites, especially if you feed things like crickets. Crickets are more likely to infect your bearded dragon with parasites than any other feeder. Metabolic bone disease that comes from not getting enough calcium. So it could be having inadequate UVB lighting. This causes softening of the bones. Very terrible disease. Make sure you have proper lighting and you are properly giving your animal supplements. And ADV. ADV is a virus that bearded dragons can get, and it can cause things like stargazing and seizures. This is something that they get from other bearded dragons, or they can be born with it. Just when you are getting your bearded dragon, try to make sure that your bearded dragon looks healthy, but just know that parasites are a really big one with babies. If they get parasites, they need to go to the vet and get treated. Symptoms of parasites include really smelly poops, not eating, constant stress marks, hiding more often, being lethargic, anything like that. But that is it. That is it for this week's video. If you just brought your bearded dragon home in this past week and they are stressed out, they have stress lines, they have a black beard, they're not eating, they are acting super skittish, make sure to watch that video. I'll leave it there in the description, all about bringing your bearded dragon home for the first week, and that should answer a lot of your questions. This video has already gotten very long, so I'm going to leave that video somewhere here. As of this video is sponsored by me and Reptilian Den. Opened a store, if you haven't seen it already, on Etsy, where we sell reptile things. We have so many reptile things. A lot of you guys wanted to support the channel. You wanted us to open a store and sell things, and so we finally did. If you want to spice up your reptiles tank, or you just want a reptile shirt or stickers or anything like that, make sure to check out our shop at ellsreptiles.etsy.com. Maybe you'll find something in there you like, I don't know. As always, if you have not already, please feel free to follow me on my other socials and like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications every single time I put out a new video, which is every Sunday and some Wednesdays. This week's Instagram shout out is for making money, for following me on Instagram and going through and liking a whole bunch of my stuff. And this week's subscriber shout out is for Rich Small for commenting on last week's video. Thank you guys both so much. You are the bee's knees. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye. Don't mind her black beard. This window and that window are both wide open, and she wants the sun. Okay, we'll slice all that together and see what's this. Okay, our Etsy store and some of the reptile products we sell, like This shirt, actually we don't sell this shirt. That's a lie. We sell another kind of this shirt, not this one. Okay, let's redo. This video is gonna be all over the place. I'm sorry, future me. You are going to be, sorry, my brain is not there today. I can't even form that sentence. Oh crap. Forgot what video I was doing for a minute. Bugs. And the other 20% to be mostly veggies with humidity. And again, we're gonna talk about it in a little bit, but beard, did I not put that on there? Okay, so what are you doing, Sass? Why do you always hold on to that? Okay. Okay. This will go back in setup. So sorry, future me. Sorry. They're going to shed in pieces. I don't think Zaz has any pieces right now. You? No. Thank you. Actually, I can't thank me for sponsoring the video.